Right? That's pretty good.
I don't want to hold it the whole time. Hey, Melissa, how are you? Hey, I actually was going to text you yesterday, and Melissa. Hey, I was actually thinking about scuba club last night, and then I forgot. Do you know, is that just going to be like a scuba thing, or is it going to be an after-school club this year? What do you think?
I think I'm going to start it as just a club. Or, I'm sorry, like an activity. And then I'll do another round, like after school, and people can get certified. And I said we won't do that until like the year's back up. Or maybe the first year.
Okay. Yeah, I was just
It's
trying
okay.
to. Okay.
Once October hits, I can certify them myself, which will make it a lot easier, because then I can literally just take them myself on my schedule and their schedule and not have to work around like
Right.
somebody else's.
Right. And if we can book a boat and just.
So like getting back to school and like jumping into that is just like, so I'm gonna wait till like November, or last time I did it in November was backwards, that was really hard with the holidays coming up. So if the feedback is people want to wait till January, then I'll wait till January.
Yeah. January is usually good because, well, there's some
It's
sports
freezing.
that are, oh, yeah. I'm like, that's our gap between sports. You know, cross country wraps up in October, and then lacrosse doesn't really start up in track until February, March. Yeah, I know.
So I think it's like
I think you just need to do whatever.
time, and I guess I hate to say it, but I think it has to take a priority, like a sport.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. If it's booked like early, and then you can be like, oh, I didn't.
If anyone wants
you
to
know,
come into
I'm
meetings
committed to
for
that.
speaker forums, I'll put it right here. I'll pass this along. Does anyone need this? Okay, put it right here for you.
She can get certified anytime.
That way she can do the
It's more fun to do it for
until
kids.
we say, because Mrs. Turner wants to be the data position, so we need
So we were kind of focusing on that during this.
Yeah, I know. So much is crazy. Yeah, I encourage you. Yeah.
You've done this before, right?
Yeah, I mean, I encourage you. Adults all the time, like,
Mr. Tanner, we have Ms. Rendez in here. Can you be the parent representative today until we get that established?
Sure.
Okay. Because Mrs. Turner used to be. Okay. Oh, it's time to get started. You ready? Alrighty. Alright, we'll call this meeting to order. Just to recognize our principal designee, Mr. Whitehead, and Mr. Tanner as our parent representative for today's meeting. Board members, are there changes to the agenda?
I would like to add one item under new business to discuss the role of our individual attorneys.
Okay. This will be just a review item.
Correct.
Alright, any other changes, board members? Yes. The only other change I have is to the consent. I'd like to move the meeting minutes to the next meeting, because we didn't have a chance, since it was only 2 days, to get those uploaded in time. So there won't be a consent today. Alright, any other changes?
No.
I move to adopt the agenda with the addition of the review of our attorney's roles to do business.
Okay.
Second.
Alright, all those in favor, state so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes unanimously. All right, reports of officers and standing committees. We don't have an official report, but I know Mr. Whitehead had a few remarks today, as our interim principal.
Sure.
Mr. Whitehead.
I just wanted to let the board know that we have been very successful over the past few weeks at getting new teachers who have joined our team, who are very qualified, good credentialed folks onboarded. And we're in the process of just the last few who were able to late getting those finished up. This is going smoothly because the office staff, the support services office staff downstairs, which we've successfully recruited 3 very qualified people, are working together as a team, and they're getting these things done. And I'm actually, I want to make sure you understand how hard they're working into material that they had not been previously familiar with, even though they've done jobs of very similar types. They're digesting that material, discovering things that they need to be working on, coming to me with ideas already, and at the same time taking on the responsibilities of the current activity that's going forward, getting people started in their jobs, filling requests, budget items, payroll, all those things. They're doing it in a way almost as they've been there. So it's really impressive to see that. And the training, we have had some very good trainings for the teachers this week. One of the highlights was on Monday, we had a training that was put on in life-saving skills by Collier County EMS. And they trained our entire staff, except for a couple of us who had to be up in the front office. They trained everyone here on how to do basic things like CPR, stop bleeding, even recognizing dangerous medical conditions that could happen to a child or staff member, so they know to call 911 immediately. It was a very thorough training. Dr. Lee, who's also a parent of children here, he's the deputy director of EMS. He had an entire team in here, and they spent the better part of the day with our staff, really working hard and getting them up to speed. And then all those folks now are going to be certified through EMS.
Nice.
So it was an impressive process to watch everyone going through that.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. And we appreciate the hard work of the new staff and admin to help us with this agenda today and upload documents. We realized they only had 2 days, a day really, to get that going. So we appreciate their hard work.
They more than hit the ground running. They hit the ground running, pole vaulting, shot putting, all the same time.
That's good.
Well, thank you. All right, are there any community comments? I didn't announce there's a form here. Anyone want to make a community comment? All right, the first item up is unfinished business, Hillsdale. I know this question came up at the meeting a couple days ago. Just for the record, we did not receive that letter until the afternoon, so when we met that morning, it was our understanding as of August 5th, the relationship had ended. So getting this letter on August 6th was a bit of a surprise for all of us. It seems to me that some people knew about this, not the board, so that was kind of interesting. I didn't know if any board members had any comments regarding this, but I just want to make it clear we had removed all traces of Hillsdale from our website, considering they gave the termination notice and that the relationship was ending August 5th. So, board members, any comments regarding Hillsdale?
Yeah, I would just like to add to what you said. We did not receive the letter from Hillsdale until the afternoon of the 6th. In fact, I just went back in my email, and they sent it to us at 2:23 p.m. in the afternoon, well after our board meeting was finished. Yeah, absolutely. We've received, I think it was a total of 2, possibly 3 letters from Hillsdale since June 6th, when they sent their first one regarding this matter, and at least 2, maybe 3 of those letters said that the termination of working together, or our contract working together with them, is effective August 5th. So it's in their words that it's effective August 5th was the termination, and sending this letter on August 6th, it just seems to me it's a day late, a dollar short, and I don't know why they sent it on the 6th.
Well, I think when in the letter, they actually said, I think they were wrong, because they did say it was August 6th, and just interesting before the CCPS meeting. Some other concerns, and I'm sure you have comments too, but just the continued coordination between Hillsdale, which is supposed to be MCA's partner and the coordination with the district, I have serious concerns about that, because we have yet to have a sit-down conversation with them at this point. Overall, I feel this is very disappointing. I heard from a parent yesterday that expressed concerns that, you know, at this point we are moving forward. We have the school to open on Tuesday, and this just seems like yet another, gonna be a whole other battle ahead of us. And parents aren't happy about that. So I know there are some parents who still want the relationship to be there, but I do have some other serious concerns. They continue to talk about a December communication to me. That is extremely misleading about the context of that. I'm happy to go into more details if need be. There is a communication I had with Phil Kilgore in response to that, but to me, it was a coordinated effort to set us up so it made it look like everything was in line with the Fishbane report, which, by the way, the Fishbane report, we will have a counter report from Coleman's firm, hopefully by the end of the month. It may go into September, and I think people will be very relieved to see that all the accusations were false. So with that said, did you have any comments regarding Hillsdale?
It was shocking to me to get that letter, and after, you know, they were here at our invitation to try to work through, you know, some of these issues that have been so nebulous, but floating around for a while, asking for their advice, and they came down under the guise of accepting our invitation, and then had a secret meeting with the CCPS and undermined our relationship. So I think that is really a distraction right now. We have a lot of other work to do. We have committees to set up. We have a lot of things to do to be respectful of the agreement that we have made with the CCPS and mediation. I think we threw them a lot of bones that were not necessary legally, but we're doing them anyway so that we can act in good faith and do the best we can to act as responsibly as possible for this, as always. So, yeah, I think you all have covered the rest pretty well. So.
And I did post the letters for the public so everyone can see those. Anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to add on to this. This is the contract between Mason Classical Academy and Colorado County School Board, signed on the 13th of June, 2017. If you go to page 48, there's clause M, conflict/dispute resolution, and I'll highlight a couple things for the record. It says, all disagreements and disputes relating to or arising out of this charter, which are the parties are unable to resolve informally, may be resolved according to the following dispute resolution process. It goes on to say, step 1, the persons having responsibility for implementing this charter for the grieving party will write to the other party to identify the problem, propose action to correct the problem, and explain reasons for the proposed action. Step 2, the person having responsibility for the charter will respond in 15 days, offer an alternative solution, meet with the representatives of the parties to reach an agreement on the solution and subsequent action. Step 3, upon resolution of the problem, the responsible parties will develop a joint written explanation indicating the resolution. Step 4, if all efforts of this agreement within the reasonable time frame are unsuccessful, the parties may have recourse to their available legal remedies, including without limitation, mediation through FDOE or those additional remedies set forth in Florida Statute 1002.33. The Fishbane report skipped over every one of those steps. Okay, they were breach of the contract. And then Hillsdale came in 2 days later and said, do everything that the Fishbane recommended from the Fishbane report, including resign, certain board members resign, the principal resign, the assistant principal should be put on probation. And then Hillsdale's gonna come in and hand select the new board majority. That is totally unacceptable. And in fact, it was framed correctly by one of our attorneys, Braxton Paget, at the June 11th board meeting during his public comment, where he said that activity, that behavior, those demands are illegal. So for Hillsdale to knowingly state that they have sent us letters, that they are departing from our contract on August 5th, and then send us this letter August 6th, just seems to me that they're not done trying to undermine the school. And it just seems like another chapter of coordinating with Carter County Public Schools to undermine this school. And in fact, if you go look at the comments from Mr. Fishbane, where on the 6th, where they accepted this mediation settlement, where in the intro to the mediation settlement, one of the items says, whereas on June 6, 2019, Hillsdale College sent a letter to Mason to indicate an intent to terminate the relationship with Mason unless certain actions were taken. And again, we received multiple letters from Hillsdale that was to take effect on August 5th. When Mr. Fishbane was asked by, I believe it was Stephanie Lucarelli, what happens if Hillsdale was no longer with Mason Classical Academy going forward? And Mr. Fishbane said, I view that as a breach of contract because it's not part of their application anymore. So he immediately just, again, skipped over every step of our contract of if he has an issue with, if we're not, with Hillsdale anymore, okay, let's just amend the contract. That's what every charter school has the ability to do, or amend the application. The application was 7 years ago. I mean, every charter school has the legal ability to amend their contract from 7 years ago. So to just jump ahead with Hillsdale to send this letter after our meeting, and Fishbane saying that he views it as a potential breach of contract. Again, this is just another chapter of Hillsdale trying to undermine our school.
So I have just one final comment about the Hillsdale thing. I received a phone call, like during the week of the termination, from some Hillsdale donors, asking all of us to resign and let Hillsdale, appoint new board members, and that he could call the president of the college, and the president could stop the termination from happening. I thought, wow, this is pretty unbelievable. This is really unbelievable. So I think
President meaning Larry Orr.
the president, Larry Arn, that he could call him right now and make this all go away if we would just all resign. And this was a big Hillsdale donor, so I find that to be very unsettling. But I think there's a lot of information that not everybody has, and I think a lot of people have jumped to conclusions and have wrongfully attacked us personally and attacked the school. And I think it's really unfair, and we said it from the beginning, there was no due process, and we asked everyone to be patient as we let the facts come out. And unfortunately, several people did the opposite. And I wish I could say you're wrong about this being another chapter in this, but I think that's where it's headed, and it's really unfortunate because it affects the school incredibly.
Yeah, and I would like to add too, I received a similar call from the person who identified himself as a major donor to Hillsdale, and he lives on Marco Island, and that he offered to, although Larry Arn, president of Hillsdale, he told me was on vacation, he wanted to give me Larry Arn's personal cell phone number so I could call him, because Larry Arn is negotiating with the district on how to get through this crisis. And when I challenged him and I said, so Hillsdale is negotiating with Collier County Public Schools on this item, he backtracked. He said, no, I didn't say that. They're just, they want to see, they have a mutual thought to, essentially have this go well for everybody. So, the fact of, we get donors calling us, they followed up with a text that because they called me again, I didn't take his call, and they followed up with a text to please call me and that he deserves a call to discuss this further. It's just, totally beyond the pale in terms of the overreach and the power grab that Hillsdale tried to implement in proven coordination with Collier County Public Schools.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'll just say, you know, even if we had been only ignored, even if we had not gotten any help from Hillsdale, that alone is not a real good partner, not a very good sponsor and support of the school. But then to take that even further and see the intentional damage that they have caused, I don't have any idea why anyone would think that it would be a good idea for us to continue that relationship. So it's very interesting.
All right, we're gonna move on to new business, grievance committee. This is actually something, you know, that we think is a great idea moving forward. It takes a lot of the pressure or false accusations against the board out of the mix, takes the principal out of the mix. So I think today's focus right now is kind of putting in place what this grievance committee looks like. We're not picking members, but we need to understand how many members, what's the makeup of the committee, and, you know, kind of the, you know, purpose. So, did you want to start with any comments about ideas for the committee?
Sure. Yeah, again, I think this is a great idea. You know, I attended a private school in the Northeast when I was in my high school years, and you know, the way things were structured, they had a similar, you know, grievance committee and things of that nature, and it was, you know, made up of staff and administration and teachers, and you know, the headmaster was out of it. He wasn't, you know, he didn't need to get involved with that, and so I think, you know, setting something up like this where I feel, you know, the grieving party too will feel like they're, you know, they're coming with a committee that's supposed to, you know, receive all the information from both sides, and then, you know, I think everyone's going to feel like they're going to have a fair hearing. For me, you know, the makeup of it, I think just in terms of number, I think 5, you know, seems to be a decent amount. It's, you know, it seems, you know, the district, everyone else seems to be like, okay, you got to expand your board from 3 to 5. It seems like, okay, in their mind, 5's the magic number. So, you know, going forward with a grievance committee of 5 people in total, I think that's, you know, a good place to start.
I would agree with that. As far as composition, I know you just mentioned teachers, administrators. I was, in my view, I was kind of thinking a mix between some teachers and parents on the committee. And I don't know what your thoughts are. I'd like to preferably keep administration out of it, and just, I think teachers and parents would be a good mix.
Well, then, you know, when you consider that, you know, there may be an occasion where a teacher may be involved in agreements, there may be, you know, I know the teachers are really the ones who probably can understand situations best, and understand our policies best, because they're immersed in it every day. And, I think, you know, having a parent on the board is a good idea too. But I was intrigued when Mr. Arnold brought up the possibility of a retired judge or somebody in the community who might be taught, you know, what our basic rules and you know, mission are, so that, you know, they can come in as a completely objective, you know, unbiased and neutral party in the whole mix, and whether that be a member.
So maybe community member that doesn't have kids in the school. No ties. Parent,
No money, they need to be absolutely.
parent or 2 parents. I mean, you could do community member, 2 parents, 2 teachers, and then if it ends up a teacher's part of that grievance, they would have to, you know, we can even have someone as a backup, like, in the event that they're involved. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, to me, that seems like a nice mix where, you know, I'm just thinking from the, let's say, the grieving party approaching that group, and it's like, okay, we have 2 teachers that, you know, are thinking at it, you know, from, you know, their lens of being at the school every day,
Maybe upper
interact.
school and elementary.
Yeah.
Like an upper school, lower school. Okay.
Exactly. Knowing that they also are making their grievance to someone who's just like them, a parent. You know, having two members there, I feel that's a nice, you know, nice representation. And then that fifth person being, you know, independent, not necessarily affiliated with the school, but, you know, very versed in mediation, disputes, you know, resolution. I think that's a nice mix.
Yeah. All right, so, just to reiterate, one community member, two teachers, one from the lower school, one from the upper school, and two parents. Does that sound good?
That sounds good.
Okay. Okay.
Well, I think it's important to have one parent on there. I think if we do get, if we happen to get more applications from community members, maybe that fifth position could be either a community member or a parent. If that,
Right.
who comes forward seems to have a really strong commitment and capabilities. So,
Which brings up the other point of getting, you know, putting it out there, accepting applications for the committee.
So, would it be a good idea to have a boilerplate list of questions that is, you know, documented, that the answers are documented by staff members so that we can have this submitted to us and streamline the process of our involvement?
What do you, can you, I don't know what you're.
Can we come up with an interview that's the same for every candidate?
Oh, yeah.
And then have staff member conduct those interviews and submit the results of the interviews to us for the next round of interviews.
Okay. So for this particular, committee, okay, and who would, conduct those interviews, do you see?
Yeah, that's a good question. Someone has lots of free time. I don't know. We need to figure that out.
Okay, so,
Mr. Webb, would you weigh in on this? Who do you think would be a good person to conduct interviews for the?
You know, I'd like to actually talk to some staff members to see who would, one, be interested in it, rather than just throw a name out. See if they've had similar experience in putting committees together or subcommittees together before, for groups such as this one. And find out who actually feasibly could spend the time doing it. So I need at least a few days. I could respond to the board president with, some suggestions after this meeting.
yeah,
And weigh in on that.
I wonder too, if we could, you know, if we can go ahead and have the application, including, you know, those interview questions, and have people submit the answers to those. You know, maybe that's a helpful part of it, instead of, you know, spending so much time researching on it. The individuals can spend their time, you know, thinking through it and answering the questions, and then we can evaluate.
I know some people have already been sending, just hearing that we're looking for committee members, that have emailed me. I did create in the Google Drive a folder, so, if you go to governance, under governance, there's a folder for, committee and board, resumes. So, I've just been uploading those in there.
Have they expressed interest in any particular?
So basically, it's been a letter of intent that here's what my intentions are. I'd like to serve either in this capacity or this capacity, or, just I'm happy to volunteer in any way. Here's my resume as well. So that's, you know, kind of maybe a good way to start getting some interested people, so. Okay.
Should we each, start that list of questions and just put it, on the drive?
Yeah, that's actually a good idea. So put that, let's, do you wanna get the list started, and put it in the drive? And then that way, and keep it as a Word document that we could add questions to.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And so now that we have announced publicly that we're doing that, there's no issue with our manipulating that document, right? It's not a voting item, correct?
Right.
Essentially.
Okay. I know you submitted, just some thoughts, email, which we did not reply to, so we're here to talk about it today. And this was geared towards the committee, so I didn't know if you wanted to talk about, some of those things now.
Sure. What I said was, essentially what I saw as something similar to what we have in our contract with Collier County Public Schools, a step-by-step process on if you have a dispute, you know, how it's gonna take place. And what I did is I outlined, I said, okay, I think it's, well, first of all, I put in there a recital, you know, stating that everyone has, you know, if you're a student, parent, if you're a parent or guardian of a student, everyone has the ability to bring a grievance or dispute to the school, and that no one is going to be in any way penalized formally or informally for bringing a dispute, you know, to the school. And you know, we are open. We want to hear all of these disputes because, you know, quite frankly, if there is something that, you know, we're not doing correctly, we want to change that. So what I saw is the first step in the process is if you have a dispute, step one is to send an email to the assistant principal and request a meeting. And then that meeting takes place, each bring their, you know, respective evidence and supporting documentation, and then the assistant principal has a time frame to, I guess, send a report to the aggrieved party. If the aggrieved on recommended actions, if any, the aggrieved party says, you know what, I'd like to take it to the next level, then send an email to the grievance committee how they would like to, you know, have a hearing essentially. And then the assistant principal's report would be sent to the grievance committee, so they have everything that's, they see everything that's been discussed previously. Other additional information can be brought from both sides. And then there's the grievance committee hearing, and then there's a report from the grievance committee to the respective party. And in both cases, the meeting with the assistant principal, and then I guess the hearing with the grievance committee, and then the report, all of that information is confidential between, you know, the parties and either the assistant principal or the grievance committee and the grieved party. If they want to elevate it, if they're not happy with the report or the recommendations of the grievance committee, then it's elevated to this board, the governing board of Mace Classical Academy. Again, the time frame on, you know, when to set a meeting, I gave that one extra time, you know, 30 days to set the meeting, because we can't set meetings just to hear, you know, a grievance party. We kind of have to work with our calendar. And I think it's important to put in there, and maybe we should discuss this now, that by elevating it to the grievance committee, that the grieving party waives their FERPA
Oh, you
rights.
mean to the board?
To the board, I'm sorry, to the board.
Because it has to be a public meeting.
Because it's a public meeting, so if you want to provide all, you know, information, you know, about your student, and, you know, you feel they've been grieved, that you have to waive your FERPA rights, because we need to see all the information to make a proper and informed decision. And then if it's, you know, the grieved party is not happy with the results of our report or our recommendations, then they can send it to the Collier County School Board and say, you know, I've gone through this whole process, and then we as a school will send the assistant principal's report, the grievance committee's report, our report to Collier County Public Schools, so they have all the information in front of them, and then that grieved party can deal with Collier County Public Schools.
One of my concerns is that I think one of the things that this policy needs to do is preserve the respect and relationship with the teacher. And I think that beginning with the teacher as the first step still needs to remain, you know, intact, so that the teacher doesn't feel like they can just be circumvented in the process and ganged up on, you know. So as long as that, you know, is, as long as those steps are still in place to begin, you know, with the most, where most of the disputes are handled easily without involving anyone else, is, you know, directly with the first person in line, you know, that can do something about it. I think that's still important. So.
Yeah, perhaps we should add something, and maybe as a step one, you know, have an informal discussion/mediation with the teacher. And then if that doesn't work, then we move on to
Bring the concern to
right.
the teacher and attempt to resolve it there. However that is going
So
to be.
this needs to me, it needs to come back as policy change and update. So taking some of the language here, adding it with the teacher as the first step, and eliminating the rest that's already currently there. We can come back and review the policy update, the grievance policy. So, okay, so that'll have to come back to another meeting, to amend that. Any other comments on that? Otherwise, okay. Next item, Mr. Whitehead contract. If you want to just briefly state what this is for, so, and why it's come to the board, because typically this doesn't come before the board.
Certainly, no, I just needed a contract to continue my role as the assistant principal in the school, beginning during the summer and continuing through the school year. And because of the status of our principal's resignation at the time, there was no one that could sign it for me, since I assumed the role of interim principal, so there was no one that could, other than the board, give approval to the contract going forward.
Okay. Board members, is there a motion to approve signing Mr. Whitehead's contract?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve signing Mr. Whitehead's contract.
I second.
Any questions, comments? All right, all those in favor, say so by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, passes unanimously. All right, the next item is prospective board member. Mr. Conrad, welcome. If you want to just come up here and just take a seat. I don't want to make this seem like you're in like the hot seat.
Okay. Yeah.
So, first I want to say my condolences to you and your family. I'm very sorry for your loss. The second thing I want to say is thank you so much for your interest, your dedication, your commitment to the school over the last several years, and we really truly appreciate that. At this time, this is an opportunity for the board members to ask any questions. You've been able to review his interest statement, his resume, so this is really ultimately your opportunity to ask any questions.
I really don't have any good questions per se. I want to again thank you for your interest and looked over your resume. I think it's top notch. And I personally, for a prospective additional board member, I think it's going to be very beneficial, very helpful with your legal background. None of us are attorneys, and I think given especially what's gone on the last few months, it'd be very good to have someone trained, a trained legal attorney on our board, being able to discuss and bounce ideas off each other. So, yeah.
Because I do feel that the reports that have been put out are very misleading. People that don't know the law can then be taken in by, oh, sunshine, or this, or not disclosure, but it's misrepresented what's being put forth, and they're misrepresenting legal issues to the public, and you guys aren't in as much of a position to defend yourself. And I know we have legal counsel coming forth with a report, but just what's been going on, I feel is pretty egregious. So I would like to. I have a personal interest. I have kids at this school. I have a lot of interest in the school. I think the school is great. And when I see the attacks, which a lot of them I don't see are that I believe are baseless, it's not that I would necessarily, this was my goal to be on this board, but at the same time, I felt like it was my obligation to stand up for what I felt was right. And if I can diverge for a second into the whole Hillsdale discussion. This whole discussion sounds absurd to me. It's a hostile legal takeover. They have no desire to support throughout the whole process. They aren't even communicating with us. They're actually communicating with the enemy. I actually spoke to Hillsdale, and they basically said that unless the entire board was gone and the principal was gone, that they would never consider working with us. And now all of a sudden, after they don't get what they want and the school's not suspended, they now want to come and act like everything's good and they want to work with you. That's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Why would you have a partner that has tried to sabotage you throughout this whole process? And I feel like would be a further issue going forward to look for the next opportunity to pounce. So, sorry, I went off for a little bit.
No, but yeah, absolutely. That's very helpful comments. And I was just thinking from I believe it was the first meeting after the Fishbein report was released. You got up and did your public comment, and he said, the the item that, Mr. Fishbane raised about, not having a quorum, and, my appointment wasn't legal, and you just got, you said, the statutes perfectly say that you could call in electronically.
And then in the Collier County Board meeting, the last one that they had one of the people appear telephonically. Right after they were allowing that person to still vote and speak, after, in the report, they were saying that was illegal. And then the problem with that one statement is then they run off with like 10 different violations that originate from that. Oh, this person's not even legal, so then all these other votes. So it's not just the one statement, it's like the 10 other resulting things that they said were illegal because of that, and the whole chain was inaccurate. And it's not even misleading, it's false. And that's what the problem is that feel like you have strong forces working against you, and that's, like I said, more of the reason why I wanted to. Because this is such a great school. I find it's crazy that this is even happening. And I think it is because it is a great school. I think you're a challenge to the public schools, and they don't like that.
Thank you so much for being willing to help and continue. I think your experience and insights are just incredibly helpful, and I deeply appreciate your being willing to be here the day after your family tragedy, especially just to serve support. And I think you'll be incredibly valuable with this team. So thank you.
I don't have any questions. I just appreciate your not only just your support, but just the knowledge and experience that I think you can bring to this to the table here to help us. I personally would like to bring this back at the next board meeting to officially approve you as the next board member of Mesa Classical Academy. So I don't have anything else.
Yeah, no, I think, definitely like to bring this back for a vote.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, this is Mr. Bolduc's item, the attorney role.
Yes, so before the Fishbane report was released, we essentially had one attorney, and that was the Arnold Law Firm. And then after the Fishbane report was released, we hired the Coleman firm to conduct our investigation onto the Fishbane allegations. And then we voted to expand the scope of the Coleman firm to act more as our advocate as well.
Can I just speak as to why?
No,
Just
sure.
to make sure everyone's clear why the scope changed. I was in his office on a Friday saying, I have reason to believe that they're gonna try and terminate the school, which is why I'm here and need to change the scope of work, and like you said, as an advocate. That was on a Friday. By Sunday night was when CCPS posted their termination notice, so, yeah, anyway, so that's why things change. I know some people had some confusion about that, which is why the counter report is going to be a little bit later, because he had to shift gears to defend the school in this egregious, illegal, posting of a meeting. So go ahead, you can go ahead and finish, I'm sorry.
Sure, no, that's fine. And, now that we have these, the mediation settlement agreement has been signed and passed by both boards, I think perhaps we should evaluate, one, keeping the role of the Arnold Law Firm, the kind of the nuts and bolts, making sure the charter is going well, and making sure that working with FDOE and CCPS as our sponsor to make sure that, all our ducks in a row and all that stuff. And then kind of refocus the Coleman firm to finish our investigation now that the mediation settlement agreement has been signed and passed by both boards. And perhaps I'm thinking, it seems like, unfortunately, it doesn't seem like this mediation settlement agreement signed and passed is the end. We have, Hillsdale saying they want to come back. Then we had, that evening, within hours, the Fishbane says, well, I'm going to view that as a breach of contract. So I think perhaps we need to look at another law firm to solely act as our advocate, to defend the school when necessary, because it seems like we're gonna need someone to continually defend the school, because it just seems like those same items of breach of contract, you know, I don't wanna bring it back to another vote to terminate, all these items, they're still floating out there. So I think we should look at another firm to act on our behalf as an advocate, and, you know, given how, you know, the tightness of the legal community here in Carter County, perhaps we should look at, you know, someone outside of the county, if they're going to be our legal advocate, you know, forcibly stating our case with Carter County Public Schools.
So you're talking more of an offense, like? Or-
Yeah, an attorney who's offensive, because like I said, right now, we have the Arnold Law Firm, I view them as our nuts and bolts law firm. We have the Coleman firm, they, you know, I think their scope should be refocused to finish our investigation. And then a third firm that is our advocate to be offensive when necessary.
Yeah, I think we have to be mindful of the fact that Collier County Public Schools is, I believe, the largest employer in Collier County. And I think that there are so many strings attached to all these relationships. Those strings even barely reach to Michigan. So I think it would be a good idea to have someone as neutral as possible in this that will not be affected, but even potentially by backdoor deals. So I think that's a wise idea.
Yeah, and I think we should look for an attorney that has experience going up against government entities, you know, whether it be counties in Florida or, you know, even other school districts in Florida. They have experience dealing with large government bureaucracies who, in our case, I feel, you know, seem to be hell-bent on essentially breaching contracts and trying to participate in power plays to damage the school.
So, for me personally, I definitely agree. I would be happy to start reaching out to some local friends here that I know are in law and see if they have any recommendations. I'm sure both of you also know attorneys in town. I mean, it might be worthwhile asking them outside of Collier County, you know, who would be a good fit for us to, you know, potentially engage, so. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and the Coleman firm is focused on finishing that report. I know they're actually gonna be conducting an interview with Mr. Hall on Friday, which that needs to happen stat. So, I'm happy to announce that.
Tomorrow, Friday?
Yeah, tomorrow's
Great.
Friday, holy cow. All right, I appreciate that, so perhaps I'll add that as another item to come back, possible engagement. All right,
Great,
thank you.
thank you.
All right, any board comments today? Oh, mental health education plan, sorry. This just is Mr. Whitehead, you can speak on this item.
Certainly. We have a agreement for a plan going forward. We've had one each year for the last, I think, 2 years. It states what kinds of activities we'll be able to conduct and document that we do in-house in the event that there's some sort of a mental health crisis involving the mental health component for all the students. And so we updated the one that we had in place. I worked with the Collier County staff on this item over the last 2 weeks, along with Mr. Hinkle, and we've revised it according to the needs of the school and our abilities to maintain these functions. And so what it needs at this point, it's already been submitted to the Department of Education on our behalf through the district as a pending document draft. What's required today is for the board to vote to approve it, board president sign off on it, and I will take the original copy to the district so they can forward that to the Department of Education.
And this is just like, just a statute requirement, changes
Yes.
in laws that require us to do that, so.
And I do want to say to the, we have, in the last several weeks, developed a good relationship with some of the staff members on some of these items with Carter County Public Schools. They have been helpful to our staff on this item, and others, like switching to the focus plan as well, and some other things that I've worked on within the last couple of days. So I wanted to make sure that was clear on the staff level. They've been cooperative and helpful.
All right, is there a motion to approve the mental health assistance allocation plan?
I move to approve the mental health assistance allocation plan for Mason Classical Academy.
Second.
All right, any other questions, comments? All right, all those in favor say so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, passes unanimously. All right, now we're at board comments. Okay. Did you want to go?
No.
No, you don't have any?
I don't.
Okay. Did you have any comments?
Sure. You know, I think I said all I needed to say on the, well, I think it's, you know, unfortunately, it seems like we're gonna have another chapter in this, but I want to end on a positive note. I can't wait for the 13th. I can't wait for the first day of school. I can't wait for all of these teachers to see the children again and to not even, you know, think about, you know, what's gone on in the last 2 months. I know my son is, you know, we haven't even discussed any of this, you know, what's gone on this summer, and he's looking forward to get back to school because, you know, he wants to see his friends, and, you know, this is a great school. And I think that's the case for every student and parent on the 13th. So again, I can't wait for that day when, you know, I pull up in Carline and drop off my son, because, you know what, it's a great school, and you know, and it's a great day when it's operating, and the kids and teachers are here doing what they do best. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you for that. All right, so the one thing I just need to bring up, Sean Arnold recommend that we hire a consultant to review some of these changes and amendments to our charter application. He sent me a few names, so if I just have consensus, I think did he send it to you as well?
Yes.
Okay. For me to start, after, you know, contacting them, and then, you know, bring it back for an official vote to hire them.
And so that would be basically taking on some of our own law firm's duties and lower rate.
Yeah, in a sense, because instead of having him amend those things, which would be far more expensive, I think that was, you know, key in this is having somebody who has experience, that's worked with charter schools, with the state, that clearly understand that like you mentioned earlier, charter schools can amend their charter applications. It happens all the time. So for CCPS to even start trying to dig in their heels that it would be a breach of contract is absolutely ridiculous, which is why these people are recommended to assist us. So if there's consensus, I'd be happy to take the time to reach out to them.
Do you think it's also a good idea while you're talking to them? I know one person is recommended in particular for dispute resolution. Do you think it might be a good idea for that person to be considered as one of the Ravens County members?
As long as they live here.
Okay.
I would assume in the event, otherwise they'd have to be traveling and,
Would they?
they could call in, I guess. But,
So much business done.
yeah. I'm happy to ask. Okay. Is there a consensus that we
Yes.
can move
Yeah.
forward and just reach out to these people? The other thing, I just want to comment, I really appreciate our board the other day coming here to vote on the settlement agreement. We didn't use it as an opportunity to rip apart the school district, and watching that meeting the other day, I thought it was pretty disgusting that they took another opportunity to try and embarrass our school, make us look bad, and, frankly, they have plenty of schools that need some time, energy, and focus on for the benefit of those other students. So I was appalled that this continues. So to me, it doesn't seem like good faith. in the mediation settlement agreement, considering they use that, I mean, they spent, what, 45 minutes trying to put more out there on the camera to embarrass and make the school look like we're just inept. I just think that was wrong. The other thing, I'm gonna say it again, because I can't say it enough, but I have to say it's very frustrating, and getting excited for the school year is an understatement. Because, you know, for some of you who feel that this summer has been absolute hell, have no idea what so many of us have been dealing with. Staff here who's been trying to keep it all together through the summer. Mr. Whitehead, Ms. Mirabali are here. I mean, I can't thank them enough. But what just gets me to my core is that the very people who come to this school and claim they love this school are working with Fishbane and the district and continue to undermine the school. In fact, just the other day at the CCPS meeting, they're talking about accreditation. Why are they talking about accreditation? Because the very parents in here are making this now the next issue.
They said they received emails about it.
Yeah, so it's like it's like, why is there this effort to continue undermining the school, finding the next thing to attack us? And it's not just existing parents here, it's former parents, and they're still teaming together. I can certainly make this public record. This is all just screenshots of just absolute disgusting things being said about individuals involved with this school. And for people to come up here in public comment and praise how much they are giving unwavering support to this school, I find it disgusting, considering here is clear evidence that's out in the public. And it's upsetting not just to me, not just to this board, not to just the teachers and staff, but it's disgusting for other parents who love the school and want to have an awesome school year coming up, but it continues, and they're tired of it too. So I feel like I'm speaking on behalf of them. This needs to stop. It has to stop. So I can't say it enough. I wanted to end on a positive note, but I say it almost every meeting. You know, it has to stop, is all I gotta say. So please, if you're involved in any of those groups that are doing this, just remove yourself. Don't be part of the problem. We have a lot to do getting ready for the school year, and I think our kids deserve it. Not just for my 2 kids, but for all the kids at Mason.
And the staff is exhausted.
Yes, they are. And I'm very grateful for all those that remained. In fact, the other day after we left here for training, we had additional training. Following the training, I gave 5-year awards to all those that have been here since the beginning. And it was nice to see. It was a pretty large number up on that stage that have been here since day one. So I'm truly grateful for them, especially sticking it out through this incredibly difficult time. So again, please have some respect for the school, and if you don't like that I say, if you're not happy, just go somewhere else. It's really that simple. We can't be all things to all people. And if you have questions or concerns, bring it forward instead of trying to embarrass the school or working with the enemy to undermine us. We work really hard. We've given up a lot. I have to say, everyone up here has sacrificed a great deal of our careers this summer. I mean, it's been a major hardship for our families, and I'm not asking you to feel sorry for us, but just have a little bit of compassion. So that's all I have to say.
And you know, this summer I'm really wondering if one of the virtues should have just been common decency. Doesn't seem like we have that in our community.
That's what a charter school is. So it's choice. And you don't like you said, you can't be everything to everyone. If you don't like the way that this school does it, then you go to the other school. That's why we have charter schools. But you can't have 95% of the students, or 90, whatever percentage, love it, and then have a vocal minority that changes it, because now you're taking away my right. You're taking about my right to have my kids try to cut a different way because you don't like it. Well, that's what the charter school concept is. You have the public schools or a whole myriad of other charter schools to go to. So this whole argument is, once again, hard to swallow. I mean,
Well, thank you. I don't normally let those comments fly during the meeting, but
Sorry.
you're going to be. Looks like you'll be a fantastic board member. All right, I appreciate everyone's time today, and thank you for coming out to this meeting.
Okay, now the What, you want a close-up? Huh? You want a close-up? No. You want me to get your shoes? No. No, okay.
Say something, but I don't want to.
Roll on. Yeah. Your car, maybe throw it like this, roll it on, like something. Let's face it, gonna get a little beat up. I'm looking at my computer. Thank you. Boys,
Too many board meetings. Too many board meetings.
You always come back.
Exactly.
It was on the other post.
But I don't think I can remember.
Okay.
That was it.
That's why I take it over.
really focused. We're gonna work on it. It's all a matter of consistency and patience. Just do it. Yes. Still happy. Still happy. Yes. It's like I told
Did you turn the stuff out? Yeah. My kids have been. But
Okay, I'll tell you what that is.
we had Cobra for 18 months, so something,
Expensive, us help.
but if something happens, you can retro, so we're like floating.
I'll tell you what to do. What you do is tell me it's $20 a month, and I'll pay for both.
What is that? It's like prep, like in case of an emergency, like
That's good.
an emergency.
That's good. What you do.
It covers
You're just saying somebody else knew.
I just had to pay.
And that's where I look positive. Because, yeah, it's like it makes sense.
It's healthy kids that come or that work.
Sometimes no choice. That's what you gotta do.
Take copious amounts of notes.
But it is.
For the grievance
There's
committee,
much more
yeah.
good.
I did, I have my list, I was like, just
Here.
There was a time when I stopped when I was good.
You have to supply your income.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then
Is it for people like self-deciding?
no, it depends. Yeah, it depends. No. It depends because for kids, it's not part of the.
But you don't never stop it. You're always one priority, always.
Right.
So, you know, I got that out too.
Because then they'll say, oh, Kelly's buying.
In the States, in the state, Illinois had the same thing. So if you are within like a poverty line, you fall under Medicare or Medicaid or one of those, whichever it is. But then if your income exceeds a certain level, you just pay your monthly premiums. And I don't know what's going to be for me right now. As self-employed, what you're doing is you're supplying just your profit and loss statement, and then with the profit and loss statement, and then they just tell you what your profit and loss. You're saying that you're self-employed and your monthly income after all the expenses is so much. You signed a stupid letter on the top. And based on that, they'll tell you what the premium is.
So I'm hoping is they do have.
I'll pay you $20. Granted, like if you want to, every doctor takes it, because it's part of the
Medication department, like I said, they started on Saturday. So this last one was really good, because like strong structure was working good. So hopefully this year, he should be a little bit more, a lot calmer, a lot more. So he's been a lot more. So, but I probably.
But maybe.
Still, you know,
Because, you know,
so that's,
working,
you know, from here.
I mean, I've been a year.
Self-control, that it was
It's like a credit.
Good seeing you.
$350 a month. Wow, covers everything. 100%. $20,000 to the family.
Have a good one. I just wanted to check.